What is good, everyone? It's Ben Deal down here in Houston, Texas with the Expand podcast. Super excited, grateful you're joining us today. And I'm super excited for our guest, Thomas Hiyil. He is one of the kind of undercover real estate investors that is here in the Houston market. Got to know Thomas over the last really 5-6 years and getting to see behind the scenes really what productivity looks like and what somebody that's actually in the business, doing the business, not necessarily looking to get the attention for it, but I'm just super excited to have him today, have you on the show today, Thomas, and welcome.
But thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. And I just, want to open it up real quick. What did your journey into real estate look like? When did you get started? Could you kind of take us back to when everything started for you?
Well, it's kind of weird, during some people's early kids years, they want to talk about what they want to grow up, what they want to do. And crazy enough, I really was interested in real estate in my late, or actually my early teens, in the teens. I took a class called drafting. And this was in my high school. And this is where you had the big plotter and all that stuff. You're learning like more architectural designs. And from there, our second semester project was for the entire semester, draw your dream home. So we spent the entire semester learning that and how to, just draw a home. And this is with the big plotter, where now today you have CAD, but this is with the actual pencil. You got to erase it, get all the designs, and getting the exact, how wide each of the rooms are, how thickness. And I really got into that and wanted to become an architect. So my high school teacher took my drawing and entered it into a contest. I didn't think nothing of it. And long and behold, to cut the long story short, I got second place in the state competition for my architectural designs. And this is like something, I just did and draw a dream home. Cool. So I took a bunch of ideas, rode my bike around neighborhoods, figured out things. And at the time, you're like looking at it, I used my uncle's house as a template, but I made some cool features that I would like. And I just entered it and got second place. But that was the initial cost. Then after that, I got my undergraduate in finance and concentration was in real estate development. So it's been a journey since I was like 14 years old to really get into real estate. So I'm 43 right now. So you're looking at a long process. So this is not something that is more of a fad. This is something I wanted to do my entire life.
Oh, wow. What was it? What was it that originally planted that seed? Like, did you see someone? Was there somebody that you experienced? Was it a family member? Like, where was the genesis of that kind of inspiration to get into real estate so early?
Well, when we first moved, we were renting a house. So I thought like we're paying money to a landlord. He's making money. And at that time, we knew like owning assets is one way where you could really get wealthy. And over time, I looked at people like, believe it or not, it was Donald Trump. I seen him on TV, what he was doing. And I thought, why can't I do that? So a lot of it just started in that momentum, but then I fell into the typical, hey, you have to go to college, you have to do this, you have to do this. Set into that protocol and got into that grump for up until I was like, I would say 32, 33 years old. Then I started investing passively. Then I didn't become really fully active till 2016. But even then, it was just trying to figure out what direction I want to go. So 2016 through 2018, 19, that's when I figured out the direction and what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Oh, man, that's great. Yeah, and I think in kind of the trajectory, because I know a lot of when people are excited or they want to get into real estate, whether it's to be a real estate agent, whether it's to be an investor, they always get this idea that like, hey, I can do this, I can get in. It sounds so simple. And the reality is they really find that out, that it's really a process. Can you share a little bit, because you kind of talked about, it's been such a long, the seed was planted very early on with you. Like, what does that process look like for you? What have you learned through that process, even to, where you are today?
Well, first, you want to try out quite a few things and to figure out what you want to do. Like I've tried owner financing, I've tried rentals, I've tried a lot of things, building a new house from the ground up at $2.3 million. Imagine. So I've done a lot of those experiences, but all those experiences really brought me where I am today.
Mm,
And that's where it will enable me to really laser focused on what brings me joy and pleasure, in which, some people think what I do is boring. And you know what? Boring is something might be something for someone else, but it's exciting for me. So you, the individual yourself, you have to figure out what you enjoy and how you can monetize on it. A
mm,
lot of people use real estate as a vehicle to do what they want to do something else in life. I have a friend that got into real estate wholesaling. He stacked a lot of cash. Now he took all that cash and bought automotive restoration business. Now he's thriving on that because real estate was just a vehicle for him to get where he wanted to go.
mm.
For me, real estate is something that I enjoy, and this is a vehicle that will last me a lifelong because I enjoy it.
Mm. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I was actually thinking about that yesterday because even my background been in sales, business development, corporate world, startup, anything in between, everything in between. I think that process of like leveraging, because you don't have to look very far to Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Dale Carnegie, any of the people, Rockefeller, anybody that's created a lot of wealth. Real estate's always been a part of the mix, right? And but it doesn't have to be your thing. You can use it as a vehicle to step into your passion. But it sounds like for you, those two things are one and the same.
Oh, 100%. Like, prior to this, I was in corporate. I was a data scientist, management consultant working for high level organizations, in which I also worked in a highly classified environment where it's a TSSCI clearance. So that environment is completely different. And prior to that, I was an active duty Army officer. So I kind of deterred a lot of weight, but really, when I was in Iraq, I got promoted to a captain and I started doing civil military operations, which was rebuilding Iraq. I was helping fund and create scope of work for commercial projects.
Mm,
So in 2008, that's when the real estate bug got back into me because I fell into that typical, hey, you got to get this, you got to do your 9 to 5, you got the routine of getting a career job, what society forces you to do.
mm,
But really, the bug came back to me when I was in Iraq doing those reconstruction efforts. And I had about $4.3 million cash in my safe to provide reconstruction. So I was one of those guys that's carrying about $500,000 cash in the streets of Baghdad doing reconstruction projects with a very small team. So in retrospect, I look at it, you're like, oh, it's kind of scary, but not at that time, you didn't think nothing of it.
mm. Man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think in whether it was this moment you're talking about, because the event that we're putting on, name of this podcast is, it's called Expand. So it's around the theme of expansion, your business, your mindset, your heart. Do you look back over your life I know there's many in my life, but is there any one particular moment you look back and you just say, man, for that moment, there was this significant growth and expansion that followed? Like, do you ever reflect back and do you have a time that comes to mind that you think that like, wow, if I look back to that one moment, everything else has just exponentially changed and grew?
I would say at one point is like when, I had a lot of great things going, then it just fell apart, caved in. Then I realized like, I'm on my own. And from there, I went to a deep, dark spot and where I started either I fight to climb up where I want to be or I fold.
Mm,
So it was a decision I had to make. I'm like, you know what? For me to stop what I'm doing, I have to be 6 feet under. That's not going to stop me. So I
right.
have goals and ambitions, and I'm not going to fail that mission that I put on myself. And I left a very promising career. And this was, if I stayed in, I would have been pretty high up in my corporate position. I
Mm,
left that opportunity to fulfill a dream of what I wanted to do and also create opportunities for other people and also share my knowledge and wisdom.
mm, mm,
So I would say, sometimes you have to go, you you're building, then you're going to fall apart, then you got to rebuild yourself. That's where you get extreme focused and you're hyper focused on what you want to do. And really you cut out a lot of the noise. In the
yeah.
beginning, there's going to be a lot of information that's coming to you. But what that enabled me to do is just become more laser focused.
Mm, gotcha. Yeah, and so when you talk about, because nothing in life is ever, I mean, it's always going through peaks and valleys, there's ups and downs. Hopefully,
Yeah.
we're always, making progress and improving. And one of the things when we talk about, especially the mindset side and the heart of it, for you, when you talk about rebuilding, what is it for you? What do you tap into in those moments where there's a challenge, it's easy to give up, or like you were saying, to fold, even though that's not within your disposition. What kind of well, or what reserve do you go to, or what do you lean on, in those moments of rebuilding that you kind of leverage to move forward?
Uh, as cliche as it sounds, and it's real, it's God, and
Mm,
also self belief. You know, you have to have a lot of self belief and have a mindset of I will not fail at this. Meaning, like if I fail, it's okay. Life's not going to get over. It's not like I'm getting shot at. So right now, I fail every day, but the key thing is, what am I doing to improve on it? So accepting and embracing failure and having faith in yourself and God and family and the right people to be around,
mm.
because you're a lot of people around you. At the same time, you're gonna find the right person or even the right faith or even yourself to put yourself forward.
Mm. Yeah, because I think, like we were saying, and we see it all the time. I see it all the time. Whether it's new people that are coming out to a real estate investing event or getting their license, like there's a lot of energy and excitement, and then they hit the reality. And I think that's where the importance of the mindset, and just having the perspective of, hey, this is a process. We're like in what you were sharing, just continual improvement and making progress and going through the challenges. What how have you found yourself building kind of that mindset, this expansion mindset, the focus moving forward? What have been some of the key things for you that have helped kind of, build you and your mindset into, where you are today?
Well, I went back and looked at why did I start?
Mm,
What was my purpose? Why did I start?
yeah.
And everyone talks about your why, but a lot of people talk about the material stuff. So for me, my why is I want to win. I want goals. I want to provide a great life for my family. But at the same time, my entire life, I've been at the service of other people.
Mm,
So I used to be a martial art instructor. I used to teach children. I used to teach adults martial arts. Then I served active duty. Then my previous corporate job, I was working as a government consultant and also, private sector consultant. But a lot of it was, I would say 95% of it was towards our national security and national defense.
mm,
So then in real estate, I started off with owner financing. And the reason why I enjoyed owner financing is to provide people that didn't have an opportunity at home.
mm, mm,
So with our banking system, the way it's structured, if you're not a W-2, if you're an entrepreneur, it's very difficult to get a loan. So that's one of the reasons why I started off. But then I realized like over time, I'm not getting a lot of cash flow. I'm not making the money. So I need to do areas where I could also increase a lot more revenue in my business side. So
mm.
that's what happened. It helped me to grow in multiple directions in real estate. And real estate is such a broad topic. There's so many things you can do. You could do from development to being a landlord to wholesaling. There's so many different vehicles within real estate.
Mm.
And you just got to figure out your niche and what you enjoy and what brings you pleasure.
Yeah. So, and just for everyone, where are you spending your time right now? What does your business look like today?
Right now, I actually flew out overseas and I have teammates overseas and I built out a call center and we built out an organization in a home office, not a home office, it's an actual office where I have staff working there. And while I was there, I noticed other opportunities when I had alumni dinner and we've expanded to Australia as a virtual assistant service product. So that will enable me to keep my entire staff in-house and have my operations fully covered by our other business ventures that's going to be in Australia and as well as the UK. So built out an office. And right now, a lot of it is I'm working on the business, but at the same time, my teammates that's overseas, they're the ones putting the properties under contract. I go in, inspect it, or if it's a tough negotiation, if it's a person that doesn't really have internet, they want to see you face to face, I go to that events. I go to the person's appointment.
Mhm.
And I noticed like when I actually meet the person face to face, you build that rapport, you build that relationship. And with that, I tend to get better deals. At the same time, for example, this weekend, I'm going to one of our individuals that bought a house. I'm helping him pack stuff. I could definitely outsource it, but the key thing is like I built that relationship with him where I'm going to help him pack up his stuff side by side. And at the same time, he referred me to his ex-wife, who is also I'm going to meet and buy her property as well.
Mm.
So it's more about I'm building that relationship with that person. I'm
Mhm.
going above and beyond what normal investors do.
Mm.
And because my entire operation is overseas, my overhead, my profitability is really high. And that's where I don't need to do huge volume to get the numbers I want. Because at the same time, I'm looking at balancing my life. I'm a family guy. I'm married. I have a daughter. I have to take my daughter to her events. Yeah, right out. And I don't want to miss out on a lot of my growth of my children, my child during the time I'm also expanding the business. So finding that balance is
Mhm.
the key in rebuilding what I wanted. So before I was working 90 hours trying to build the company from the ground up,
Mm.
9,200 hours, missing out on a lot of things. Then I came back and like, dude, I'm going back to the way I was in corporate, working 9,200 hours a week.
Mhm.
And now I just have a lot of hard nose. I'm not super aggressive as opposed to some of my peers. However, going overseas, building on my team and building step by step process and enjoying the journey is more the important thing.
Yeah. No, it's so good. I think in with your operation, what's been important, I guess why was that important for you to go, overseas? And then, more importantly, what have you found to be really the most important piece of managing, getting those right people in place, those right, kind of working relationships with, having a really a distribute like a global operation. I mean, you're here in Houston, they're overseas. What have been some of the, kind of key takeaways that you found as you've, built out that part of your business?
So when you meet people in person, now you're building a relationship. There's one thing you could do it virtually, but when you're meeting a person face to face, and at the same time, we hung out, we had dinner together, we went out to different trips and excursions, building that rapport and staying focused and seeing how they could see how I operate, even though we went to the beach, whale shark diving, they see me come back and I'm still working. And that opened up their eyes how much work I put into the business.
Mhm.
At the same time, balancing a lot of things. So when I'm focused, I'm laser focused on getting a lot of my tasks done. And having my staff see that in the presence of them operating, the disconnect's not there. That motivates them as well.
Mm.
So building that connection when you have a team that's in different states, hanging out and knowing that, hey, even though you're part of our team, you're not in the office, we're still a team.
Mm.
So I plan on going back later this year or earlier next year to really help on the development with a lot of our new staff that's coming on board.
Very cool. Yeah, and I think yeah, and one of the things I've learned is I'm, growing my team, building my business as well. I think they're in as we've seen, I mean, I've met you. The reason why we've got into a relationship is because you get into the world of real estate or entrepreneurship, there's a lot of people that will talk. There's a lot of people that,
Yeah.
will say they're doing one thing, they'll say one thing, they'll do another. So there's a lot of, yeah, they talk, I deliver, that's right. And it's like really identifying,
Yeah.
and I've just come to find how important it is to lead by example, and like you said, lead by execution, like lead by, doing the work. So how has that really been an important part of your relationship or with, as you built your business? Because I know it can be, it's super important to lead with that work.
But it gets very overwhelming, especially when you're working by yourself.
Mhm.
In the beginning, it will get overwhelming. And the key thing is, I took a personality test, and based on that, I was told that I'm a visionary as well as an integrator.
Mm.
So I'm one of the rare where I have a vision and still execute. So this is not everyone. Yeah, I'm one of the few people that has the capability. And I had no idea that I was that. I thought, okay, I'm more of an innovator, I'm an operator.
Mm,
But I'm able to write down what I want and build it as well. At the same time, meeting other people, getting ideas from other people, that enables me to understand. It's also my years of experience. I get a lot of my ideas from younger guys
mm,
and like guys that are in their late teens to early 20s. I get a lot of their ideas.
mm,
But the difference is I'm able to execute a lot faster
mm,
just because of my experience. And when it comes to execution, I might be slower than other people when it comes to executing, but I have a very thought process and I'm very methodical about it. And if you look at it, I'm like a freight train. Starts out very slow, but once the right pieces are in, it goes really fast. And it's pretty much on autopilot. So one of the things I'm a huge proponent about is automations, processes, putting those into place. And a lot of people confuse what a system and a process is. A system is a broad operation. Processes are subsets of the system.
mm,
So processes, people talk about systems and processes. No, you're really confusing what that is. A
mhm,
system is entirety of the entire multiple processes that's put together. That's a system. So coming from my corporate background, and also my military background, in military, I was an Army officer. We learned a lot of planning, a lot of strategic planning.
mm,
We're looking at, okay, how can we get our objectives in and break that down? When I went to corporate, I learned how to systemize things and put processes as a management consultant and
mm,
increasing efficiencies in companies. So those two combined, that's where I guess I became a rare breed of the visionary and the innovator.
yeah,
But the ideas do stem from talking to people. Like I never would have known that I have my former employees working for clients in Australia. I have former staff members that work for clients in the UK.
mhm,
I never would have known if I didn't have dinner with my alumni and they mentioned that they're working for those clients. And when I asked them why they're leaving, they stated that they don't want to work graveyard shift. So I'm already paying for a lease. I'm already paying for the internet. The only two major variables that I have is my electricity costs and labor. So why can't I have a 24/7 operation?
mm, mm.
That I never would have thought about it until they told me they're working for clients in Australia and the UK.
Yeah. No, that's so good. And I think the interesting part, and just to kind of tie it together, so with expanding and expansion
Yeah.
growth, I think kind of what you're talking about too is the openness and flexibility, to listen and learn. And then it sounds like you've got a lot of opportunities that have come up, even just like you shared with your team that's abroad, hearing what they're doing and then leveraging that, being open. Why is that important to you? And how do you continue to use and evaluate what's happening with your employees, with your team, the ecosystem, other people that you see? How do you kind of bring all that together, identify those key things that you think you can really integrate into the business?
But it just comes down to having candid talks with them.
Mm,
I ask about, hey, where can we improve? What can I do? How can I be a service to you? As a leader, you're a servant. You have to understand that you're here to serve your people. And a lot of people think, all right, I'm a leader, I'm going to tell you what to do. No. As a leader, you're here to listen. Listen what their concerns are. And if they have an idea saying, hey, we have this issue, then poke a little holes. I'm like, have you thought about this? Or hey, Thomas, I want you to do this. But hey, hey, John, Mike, if we do this, have you looked into how it'll be affected on this process? How this? So that's where I'm able to teach them and talk, build them together. It's like if you have an idea, have a plan, but then also look at how it will impact everything else.
mm,
So then if it's good, we'll execute it immediately. And with that vertical integration strategy of lead generation to closing to actually buying the property, uh, the revenue that, and it's in the process right now, it hasn't fully gone. We have one client in Australia, but the revenue that we're generating from our clients in the UK and as well as the Australia will pay for my entire operations. For basically, I'm running my operations coming from the revenue that's generated from the other two avenues.
mm.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So yeah.
Well, that's good. Yeah,
And I never would have known
that
if I
whole
didn't take the
opportunity
trip.
came about just from being open, listening to your team, getting feedback, and figuring out how you can optimize and kind of roll that into your business.
No, it came from my former staff members.
Right.
They used to work for me and they didn't want to work graveyard shift.
Oh,
Now we have opportunity to work. Now they have an opportunity to work day shift. So I never would have thought about that if I didn't have that dinner with my staff,
mm-hmm.
my former staff members.
Yeah. Man, that's so good.
Yeah.
So what yeah, no, it's so powerful. Thank you for sharing all that. What in just as we close, what does expansion mean to you? Why is it important for you to be expanding, growing in your business? Because that's really what we're going to be talking about this event that's in Houston on June 20th. You're going to be a part of, super excited, as one of the top real estate investors in town. Why is expansion important to you? Why is it important for you to expand in your business, your mind, your heart?
See, first and foremost, before you even expand your business, you got to expand your mind. If you don't have your mind into the game, if you're not open, if you're not, you got to be also critical. You got to play devil's advocate, but you got to be open to listen to everything and then filter out what you want. You got to be open-minded. If you're not open-minded, you're setting yourself up for failure. And on top of it, new things come in. Like, for example, Blockbuster, they were not open to online. Where are they now? Netflix took over. Those are examples. In your business, you have to be open-minded of what's going on. But at the same time, you gotta go to these events, take a few ideas, execute for the next 2 to 3 months. Then once you have that dialed in, then go expand it even more. So a lot of people initially go into multiple events, but they don't execute. Go to 1 or 2 events, take a few great takeaways, then execute. So, well, when it comes to business, I'm a firm believer of you gotta have the proper infrastructure to expand. If you don't look at your processes, you're setting yourself up for failure. A lot of people talk about, hey, you have to build the airplane, jump off a cliff, then start building the airplane. That works for some people. It doesn't work for most people.
Right.
But the key thing is you got to do it yourself. If you're not willing to execute every little part of your own business, at least once or twice and get enough knowledge to be dangerous, then you're setting up yourself for failure. Then you get to a point where you have a full running business. A lot of people get the shiny object syndrome. They're like, okay, I'm going to go into Amazon. They don't know anything about Amazon. Now their focus is gone. So, a lot of people talk about having multiple streams of income. See, my firm belief is first you got to focus on your river. Where are you getting your money from? What is your focus? What drives that revenue into your company? So build out a river and let that river go fast. As a river gets bigger and bigger, streams will naturally happen. But you should keep your eye off that river, because the moment you focus on another stream, that river's revenue will decrease. And guess what? That stream will get shut off. So really focus on your bread and butter, where you make money. Then you could invest passively if you want, but majority of the time have an active role.
Yeah, man, that's so good. Yeah, I know. I think Grant Cardone, he just mentioned recently, he just said, yeah, multiple streams of income. Well, just make sure that it's complementary and you're not investing, more time in addition to, whatever it is that you're doing. So yeah, that's great. Yeah. Great wisdom, great advice. But yeah, man, thank you so much for your time. Thomas, if anybody wants to get in touch with you, learn a little bit more about what you're doing, where's the best place? Where would you like them to reach out and contact or follow you?
I believe best is my Instagram. So that's Thomas Hiyil, ThomasHiyil. That is probably the best source. And that's one of the best locations you can contact me.
All right. Sounds good, man. Well, hey, thank you so much for your time. And like Thomas said, if you're a leader and you're ready to listen, there's no better opportunity than to be in the room with us June 20th here in Houston, Texas. Thomas and a bunch of other incredible top people in the real estate industry here are going to be in the room, along with some incredible nationwide speakers that are going to bring nothing but value to you, just like Thomas brought us today. So thank you so much, brother. Appreciate you, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you very much. Peace.